It was the perfect storm. The Imperial Japanese Navy, which had steamrolled through the Pacific for months, was about to face its first major setback. On the morning of the 4th of June, 1942, the Pacific Ocean was about to be forever changed, as one of the most decisive battles of World War II unfolded, the Battle of Midway. This battle would not only shock the Pacific, but also turn the tide of the war in favor of the Allies. In early 1942, Japan's war machine seemed unstoppable. Having conquered vast territories across Asia and the Pacific, including the Philippines, Malaya, and the Dutch East Indies, the Japanese Imperial Navy was poised to strike a final blow against the United States. After their surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Japan's objective was clear: to cripple America's naval power, solidifying their dominance in the Pacific, and securing resources to fuel their war effort. Midway Island, a small atoll roughly halfway between Asia and North America, sat in the path of Japan's expansion. To the Japanese, controlling Midway meant cutting off U.S. forces in the Pacific and possibly invading Hawaii. However, what Japan didn't know was that the United States had cracked their naval code, gaining vital intelligence about their plans. With this knowledge, U.S. Admiral Chester W. Nimitz and his commanders crafted a daring plan to defend the island and turn the tide of war. The Japanese plan was simple but ambitious. Their massive fleet, including 4 aircraft carriers, would lure the U.S. Pacific Fleet into a trap, overwhelming it with superior numbers and firepower. Their 4 carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, carried Japan's most powerful weapon, aircraft that could strike at the heart of any enemy fleet. The U.S. Navy, however, was prepared. Admiral Nimitz had only 3 aircraft carriers: Enterprise, Yorktown, and Hornet, and a fleet that was significantly smaller, but their intelligence was invaluable. As Japan's fleet approached Midway, they believed the Americans were unaware of their intentions. Little did they know, the U.S. Navy had intercepted Japanese communications and knew exactly where they would strike. This gave the American forces a significant advantage: surprise. When Japanese planes first appeared over Midway Island early in the morning, it was the start of a battle that would forever change the course of the Pacific War. The battle began in the early hours of June 4th. The Japanese launched their first wave of attacks on Midway, targeting the island's airstrips and infrastructure. At the same time, U.S. planes from Midway and the American carriers launched their own offensive. Despite suffering initial losses, the U.S. Navy was determined to strike back. As the day wore on, the Japanese attack began to falter. The U.S. carriers, led by Admiral Nimitz's strategic leadership, launched wave after wave of bombers and torpedo planes, striking at the heart of the Japanese fleet. The turning point came around 10 a.m., when U.S. bombers, despite being outnumbered, hit Japan's carriers with devastating accuracy. In an astonishing twist, American dive bombers, flying at extreme altitudes to avoid Japanese fighter defenses, were able to hit the Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu. The Akagi, the flagship of the Japanese fleet, was left burning, while the Kaga and Soryu were also severely damaged. The Hiryu, Japan's remaining carrier, launched a counterattack, but it too was eventually destroyed after being hit by U.S. bombers.